Welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast, the podcast devoted to the local music scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, here's your host, Matthew Ablin.
Hello and welcome to episode 92 of the Queen City Music Podcast. This episode of the QCMP is sponsored by Midwood Guitar Studio, Charlotte, North Carolina's own boutique guitar shop located in Plaza Midwood. Midwood Guitar Studio not only has the finest selection in boutique guitars, but familiar names like Fender, Martin, Taylor, True Rock, and many others. Whether it's a guitar, bass, amp, effects pedal, or a much-needed accessory, the knowledgeable and friendly staff at Midwood Guitar Studio will help guide you in the right direction for your next purchase. And Midwood Guitar Studio also has a luthier on staff for all your repair needs. Visit their website at midwoodguitarstudio.com or stop in to see their unique shop at 1517 Central Avenue, Charlotte, North Carolina. By the way, if you have a business and would like to become a sponsor of the podcast like our friends at Midwood Guitar Studio, drop me a line at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com and I'll discuss all the information with you. And if you enjoy the podcast, drop by MatthewAblin.com where you'll find my upcoming performance dates, social media links, original music, and a host of other information. This month on episode 92 of the QCMP, I'm speaking with Rick Thurmond from Confluence. If you're not familiar with Confluence, it is the must-attend annual gathering for music professionals, artists, and industry leaders across the Carolinas and the Southeast. Confluence was held here in Charlotte in October from the 8th through the 11th. There were guest speakers and panel discussions during the day and evening performances throughout the city at some of our most popular venues, like the Evening Muse. Rick Thurmond is on the Confluence team and was kind enough to come on and discuss all things Confluence. Rick Thurmond, welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yes, man. Appreciate you coming on and talking. I know it took us a while to get this all rolling.
Yeah, that's all on me, but I'm glad we're able to work it out.
So, first question I ask everybody, are you originally from the Charlotte area?
I am not. I've been here a little over 30 years.
Yeah.
But I was born and raised in Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay. I'm guessing you came with parents, or did you come here for college or something?
No, yeah. Well, my parents are still in Tallahassee.
Okay.
But I came up here to go to college in the area and then just stuck around.
Okay. Where'd you head your college in Charlotte?
I went to Davidson College.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
I actually am an elementary school teacher up there.
Are you really?
In the Davidson area, yeah.
It's a great community. Yeah. It was a great place to go to college, and a lot of buddies still in the area.
Yeah.
But it's what brought me here, and Charlotte was sort of the perfect size for me. And being from Florida, it felt like I was in the north.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a nice small community up there too.
Yeah. It's funny how much that area has grown since I was in school there. It doesn't even feel like the same place, and more so in between Davidson and like Charlotte proper.
Oh.
I mean, there wasn't even a couple of the exits didn't even exist on the highway.
Yeah.
Now I sound like I'm really old. I'm not that old. I don't feel that old, but that's what's grown so much. It's just sort of connected.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing when you move to a city like Charlotte. When I got here, I first lived in Ballantyne, and it had built up, but there was really not that much in Ballantyne. And just going down there now and seeing what is all around there, everything for the Ballantyne Bowl that's gone up to different shopping centers, not to mention all the different housing communities that popped up. It's just grown exponentially.
Yeah,
city.
and a 4,000 cap amphitheater, doing live music.
Yeah.
My brother's actually moving here from the West Coast, and they're going to start in Ballantyne, and they're super excited about it.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious, we have you on because you're talking about Confluence, but I want to get to all that in a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
But question, you're involved with Confluence. Do you have a music background?
Do I have a music background? Yes and no. So I usually answer that question with no.
Okay.
A lot of the people I work with now say, dude, man, you're in the music industry now, whether you want to admit it or not. So I came at it from maybe a different angle than some other people. But I've been doing this a few years now, and feel like I've gotten kind of my role in the scene, I guess, if you will.
Gotcha.
But I am not a musician. I don't play music, can't play a note, can't sing, any of those things.
But a big fan.
I'm a fan. I'm a consumer. I was with a group of music people, venue owners once a few years back, and I was sort of using my usual disclaimer. And he was like, no, Rick, like, if we could just clone you, like, we'd all be fine, because you go to the shows, you talk about it, you try to get other people to go. But more than anything, I think in the different phases of my career, I came to really appreciate what music can do for a city.
Yes.
And then I thought, well, here's something that's given a lot to me over the years. What are the gifts that I can give back? And it was understanding what skills I have, what networks I've built up, and how can I put that to use to help grow the music scene.
Okay. Well, you work with the Charlotte Center. Well, I'm going to say it slow, because I think I've tripped this up about 10 times just in the conversation before we start recording. You work with the Charlotte Center City Partners, and we'll try to shorten that to CCCP. Can you explain what the group is to everybody?
Yeah, sure. So I've been with Center City Partners for 9 years, and we've been around for almost 50. We're a nonprofit. We're a nonprofit that is focused on the economic and cultural and community development of Uptown and South End.
Okay. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
How does that group work, and
Sure.
how is it involved with the city and community?
Yeah, so there's sort of a technical underpinning as to how the organization exists.
Okay.
That it's a little complicated, but essentially that property owners within these two districts at one point decided, there's some additional layer of services and planning and things we would like, maybe over and above what the city can feasibly provide.
Right.
So they set up a structure to tax themselves a little extra.
Okay.
And that tax flows to the city and then flows back to fund a chunk of the organization. But the way we approach it is, I would almost call it place-based economic development. So doing whatever we can to ensure a vibrant place that then attracts business, that attracts people to live there and people to visit.
Right. So you're almost like an intermediary kind of to work with?
Yeah, I would say
and business.
a lot of ways. Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of joke that partners is in our name. So we do everything with other people. Sometimes, a lot of times it's our stakeholders, residents, small businesses, large employers, cultural institutions. Other times it's city government, state government, and sometimes it's all the above, but it's understanding what do we have now, where are we trying to go, and then what do we need to do to get there?
Okay. Is it kind of, do you guys have a group of people that are like a think tank thinking about Charlotte, or do you work on, because I went to the website, we spoke earlier about it, and I went to see like the plans that they have for Charlotte for the future that came up and that you guys embraced. Are you having a think tank to how to embrace that? Do people come to you with ideas of the things that they would like to see happen in the areas of Uptown and South End? Yeah,
that's a great question. I like the way you phrase that. So I guess in some ways we are sort of the think tank.
Okay.
But the way we don't sort of operate in a bubble or vacuum either.
Right.
Our charge really is to always be thinking about the place, and then also to be thinking about it long term.
Right.
Not everyone else has the luxury of doing that because they're running their own business. They're running their household. They're doing whatever they do without always thinking about what do we need to do to make Uptown or South End more vibrant.
Right.
So that's the way we approach it. And the plans you mentioned, we drive a lot of those, but by driving them, it's pulling together stakeholders to say, what do you want?
Gotcha.
And then listening enough, working with a really good consultant to sort of coalesce that into a tangible vision.
Okay. That
hopefully, if we do our job right, everyone who participated sees themselves in it.
Gotcha. Is there one or two projects you can mention that CCCP has been involved with so that the listeners can kind of get an idea of what you guys have worked with?
Yeah, sure. So, a lot of ways we're known for the big public events we produce, like Charlotte Shout, which is a 17-day arts and culture festival in Uptown, or the Thanksgiving Eve parade, which is on Thanksgiving Eve.
Yes.
78 years young now. So a lot of those big events we produce to draw people and business and attention into the area. Then also on the planning side, though, we partner with the city and the county to produce the 2040 Center City Vision Plan.
Okay.
Which is on our website, and it lays out in pretty good detail of like not where we think, but where the community thinks the Center City should go and how it should grow. And so an example out of that would be something that's been a little bit in the media, not a lot, but if you know Charlotte at all, you know that the North Tryon area of Uptown, kind of past Discovery Place and before 277 hasn't really grown as much as the south part of Uptown. And so that there's some ideas around that in that vision plan I mentioned to develop into sort of an innovation tech district. When you have the University of North Carolina at Charlotte has a large building, they have a presence there.
Sure.
So they're a research institution. And then we have some of our large banks have very large tech workforces. Truist, the tower that Truist has in town is their innovation center.
Okay.
And so harnessing the sort of tech and innovation presences of those companies as well as the university to then work together to say this is what can happen in this district. And then we began small by piloting something called the CoLab with UNC Charlotte that is in existence right now. That's co-working and programming and an incubator space for startups.
Gotcha.
And then the hope is that will then begin to attract other startups, other people interested in that kind of work, because we know whether it's startups or music or what have you, when there's a bunch of the folks in the same place, that's when the ideas happen, and that's when big things can emerge.
So you're a part of the Triple CP.
I haven't heard that one before. I like it.
Got to come up with it. And you're part of the Confluence team.
Yeah.
What exactly is Confluence, and what's your role in that?
Yeah, so Confluence is, I like to think of it as a regional music community experience.
Okay.
It's probably more easily described as a music conference and showcase festival.
Yeah.
And that came out of something called the Music Everywhere CLT initiative.
Okay.
So you kind of have to explain that to understand where Confluence came from. Do you mind if I
No,
share
absolutely
a little bit about that?
not. Please.
So Music Everywhere CLT was something that we launched at Center City Partners. It's a citywide initiative.
Before you continue, I just have a quick question. Is there music everywhere? Is that in other cities across the country? It's only in Charlotte.
Yeah, this is unique to us.
Okay.
Yeah, and it came out of just looking at our music scene and thinking, wow, we have a lot of great pieces to it. A lot of great talent, some really great venues. But for whatever reason, the growth of the music scene has not matched the growth of the city.
Okay.
Charlotte, if you could see my hand, it's doing this upward curve thing. And that's been the growth of Charlotte over the last 20, 30 years. But the music scene has grown, but not at the same pace.
Gotcha.
And so we thought, that's interesting. I wonder if we could change that, because we love music and we also know what it can do for a city and for its economy and for its people. And so we put some intention and strategy behind that, pulled together a bunch of people again to say, what do you think? What are the opportunities here? And so we developed this initiative pre-COVID. And one of the...
Meaning Music Everywhere.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And one of the things that we realized through the research that we did as a part of that is that, well, we knew this, that Charlotte's the biggest city in the Carolinas. We're kind of right between the two states. We're surrounded by a lot of really vibrant scenes, like a Asheville or Greenville or Greensboro. But they're really, for the most part, gigging scenes. There's not a lot of industry or infrastructure in those markets. And so we thought, could Charlotte become a hub, for all of those scenes and towns in a way that allows us to develop more of a music industry infrastructure to serve all of those towns, as well as, of course, the talent in our own town.
Sure.
And then allow the talent in our own town to maybe begin to play those towns as sort of second hometowns. So really, but Charlotte is the hub. And then also it's kind of a gateway to the larger, Charlotte's not really on the map when it comes to the national music industry.
Sure.
Mainly because it's so concentrated in 3 or 4 cities. But if we could develop this annual tentpole moment, this coming together of the music community of the Carolinas, that becomes a critical mass to then invite the industry in to experience it. And so that was how Confluence came about. It was a strategic idea to say we could create this thing that it can really serve the goal of Charlotte becoming a music city.
So just to backtrack a little bit, talking about Music Everywhere, we spoke earlier again, and I was at the first one when you did it at the neighborhood theater.
Yeah.
And I think aren't there still get-togethers every few months or a couple of times a year at the neighborhood theater?
Yeah, we have a quarterly called the Music Community Hang.
Okay.
And we go to the side stage there at the neighborhood, and usually we'll have a short panel on some topic of interest to the music community, a 1 or 2 song showcase by a local performer, and then it's literally just a hang.
Okay.
And it's, anywhere from 50 to 100 people. And I always tell people that are new to Charlotte, that are moved here from another city and they're really into the music scene, and I'll meet them and say, well, go to the hang, because you'll meet more people in one night at the hang than in a year of hanging out at open mics or whatever the case may be. And it's just a chance to bring the community together.
Is there a place that people can go to, do you know offhand, where we can check out the schedule for when the community hangs are happening?
Yeah, sure. So a couple ways. You can just search Charlotte Music Community Hang on Eventbrite.
Okay.
That's where they live. There's actually I forget the handle for the hang itself, but Music Everywhere CLT on Instagram or Facebook.
I'll try to put links in the show notes.
Yeah, and then also those are the best places. We'll share out about when those are. Okay.
So you got Music Everywhere happens first, and you start putting that together, and then out of it starts to grow Confluence.
Yeah.
And Confluence did that. Correct me, were you involved with the first Confluence?
Great question. I was a cheerleader for the first one.
Okay.
So when we released, that town hall you referenced coming to at Neighborhood Theater was when we released sort of our action plan, which was based on the research we had done over the previous year with survey and focus groups and that sort of thing.
I remember seeing that. Yeah, when I was at that, I actually took a copy home so I could.
Good. That's why it was there. So the idea for Confluence was in that, and I can remember Jesse Hyde, who was the director of marketing at the Whitewater Center, coming to me and say, "Hey, this thing on page 27 for a music conference? Like, we're going to do that."
Right.
And so Whitewater Center partnered with Max Music, Greg McCraw, and Midwin Entertainment, Micah Davidson, to produce that first Confluence in 2019.
I went to that first Confluence.
Cool.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that there were a lot of local Charlotte artists performing at that.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Hawthorne's on the main stage and Akita performing on the smaller stage, one of the smaller stages. So I was like, oh, this is great. And I actually loved where it was, because it was a lot of open air. You could walk around, you could enjoy, whatever was going on that day at the Whitewater Center, or, go check out some
cool.
of the.
Yeah, it was like August of 2019.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then, memory serves correct, COVID happened.
Yeah, that's right. So after that, and that one was sort of a test. I think all the partners were like, let's do this and then see how it works. And we actually the partners and I met after that and decided that as cool as it was, there were some reasons to change the format and maybe move it more into the middle of the city.
Okay.
I think part of it was the partners kind of realized, like, this isn't really what we do. And it was a lot of work and didn't really have a financial return for them.
Do you mean off the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because that was
the first one at the Whitewater Center.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It was free.
Yes.
There was no tickets for that. I don't think they really had sponsors, maybe a few.
Yeah.
It was sort of a test to see how does this work. And so we decided together, hey, well, let's move this more into Central Charlotte, and then let Music Everywhere as the nonprofit take the lead on planning. And literally our first planning meeting for the next Confluence was March 13th, 2020.
Okay.
And we're going to be at the Evening Muse during the day, and that meeting didn't happen because half of us, I had a couple people like, hey, Rick, man, I'm getting calls left and right from agents canceling shows. I was getting called back to the office for a public health meeting. That was the day the governor issued the shutdown order for the state of North Carolina. So that put the kibosh on it, and it was it was 3 years really before we could bring it back. And then by then it was a whole new thing.
Yeah. I mean, completely different from what had happened previously. So what was the push to make it even bigger? Like, in all seriousness, I mean, it got really big compared to what it was at the Whitewater Center, which I'm not complaining, I'm just saying it was so nice that it was small and it was almost this community kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like seeing the second one, and then what had come out of that was much larger, and a bigger event. I should say an event more than a conference. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully it still feels like a community thing for people that come to it. That's certainly the feedback we've received. But I think part of it is trying to find a good business model for it,
right?
Which is hard to do, to be honest with you. And then wanting to have it more centrally located just to make it easier for people to get to.
Right.
And also, as we decided to try to bring in more and more speakers from outside the area. So we're usually like a third Charlotte speakers, a third kind of regional, and a third national.
Gotcha.
It's a lot easier for them to kind of get into the center of the city and stay in a hotel right there and that sort of thing. And then the other thing we realized was, like I said, for the Whitewater Center, they loved the idea of it, but it didn't work for their business model necessarily. Yeah. And so we also had the goal of getting people inside our other independent venues.
Okay.
Had to let audiences experience places like the Evening Muse and Petra's and Snug Harbor. And I can go into some of the reasons for that, but that became part of the mission. And the Whitewater Center, by the way, has stayed on as a sponsor. Midwood has stayed on as a sponsor. Max has stayed on as a sponsor. So everybody's still supporting it, but in different ways. And it was also, how do you scale it for growth? And so we understood if we can get it into the center of the city, there's so many venues to end up choosing from. You can grow it over time. And that was the other reason why we went that direction.
Okay. So just jumping back a little bit, with the first Confluence, it's just more of a test to see what could happen?
I would say, I don't want to speak for the partners that really produced it.
Yeah.
But I would say it was almost like a proof of concept.
Gotcha.
All right, what would it look like to do this? Would people respond? Which they did. You were there. I came too. And then what can we learn from it?
Got it.
And then it was like, all right, we'll do it and then figure out where we go from here.
Okay. And then,
but I think the thinking was always, this needs to be a regular thing. It wasn't really like, let's do this once and we'll never do it again. It was like, no, we'd like to build something that could be annual for this city. But let's just do one together and figure out where we go after that.
That sounds fantastic. I see what's on the current list of events happening, and it's a pretty interesting list of speakers and performers. Now, unfortunately, we're talking now right after the event, but that's pretty cool. It kind of sets us up for what had happened, and then people can dig into it later and see. But you were talking about the amount of artists. So a third.
For the speakers,
for speakers coming in. So who is involved with correlating all the events? Meaning, who's deciding what people are coming to speak, what artists are performing? How does that work? Do you know?
Yeah. So at a high level, just for folks that may not be 100% familiar with it, this year, actually I need to count. This year I would say it's probably around 40 to 45 speakers.
Right.
And then I think it's around 28 bands playing at night. So that's about the numbers. So on the speaker side, we have a programming committee. I sit on that. There's 5 of us on it, kind of a diverse mix of people in different pockets of the industry.
Right.
Volunteers, and we have a weekly call starting like 10 months out.
Oh, wow.
And this is our 3rd year post-COVID. So at this point, we have a pretty good list of people that we are either interested in or have talked to in the past. And we kind of come at it from 2 directions. One is like, who are the people we'd like to have here?
Right.
Or the companies we'd like to have represented here? And what are the topics that we want to talk about? And we build those based on feedback from the prior year, looking at other conferences around the country to see what are current topics. And then sometimes just as we reach out to potential speakers, we hear what's on their mind. Right. So it's sort of a very fluid process in a way. So that's how we come up with the speakers.
Okay.
And we do have this goal of roughly a third, meaning a third speakers based in Charlotte, a third speakers that are from sort of North and South Carolina, and then a third from the national industry.
Right.
This year we probably had a little fewer from Charlotte, just I think our 3rd year.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of folks in already. but the national speakers are from everywhere.
Okay.
I mean, they're New York, Vancouver, LA, Nashville, Minneapolis, Austin. I mean, you name it.
Right.
And interestingly, by now, we have people reaching out to us all the time.
That's great.
Asking about speaking, asking about coming to Confluence. So that is nice to have some incoming as well.
It really kind of promotes the city, I think. Seeing who's coming this
Yeah,
or
cool.
had come this year. It was quite a diverse group of people in areas of music.
Can I say a few of the highlights? From
Absolutely,
this year?
yeah.
So the one we were so excited about was Panos Panay, who is the president of the Recording Academy and the Grammy Awards.
Wow.
I mean, he runs the freaking Grammys.
Yeah.
And our Liz Brigham, the chair of our programming committee, had met him a few years ago and just shot her shot. And we figured out a way to get him to say yes. And so he was our keynote fireside chat. And he was interviewed by a guy named Roger Brown, who has come to Confluence before. He's a Davidson grad from several years ago, but was the president of the Berklee College of Music for 17 years. Mm-hmm. And then he founded a music incubator in Boston that he runs now. And he and Panos worked together at Berklee. So super cool conversation. Another was guy named John Huey, who actually was in Roger's class at Davidson. And he co-founded CAA Nashville, which is one of the largest talent agencies in the world. And he's multiple lifetime achievement award winning in the industry. So some heavy hitters like that. But then we also had a lot of folks working for startups in the music industry, working a lot with independent musicians. Just a super cool cross section of people, some incredible managers. One of my favorite panels was a panel that we dreamed up with the managers of REM, Avett Brothers, DJ Khaled, Steep Canyon Rangers, and Ben Folds, all on one panel, sort of talking about their experiences developing the careers of these artists.
Right.
I mean, what a cool experience to hear all those different stories together on one stage.
That's fantastic. So just to clarify, when you have the different host communities that are involved with Confluence, who are in, and I'm guessing that let's say if I'm just looking at my notes here real quick, you have the different communities. You have the host, the program community. So each one has their own little area of picking out like who's coming in for this and then programming who's coming in for this kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say like the programming committee does most of the heavy lifting.
Okay.
But it's folks that in each of us has, one guy is super experienced in the live side of the industry.
Gotcha.
Another person is really in the more recorded side of the industry and sync rights and that sort of thing. Liz is really networked in the startup world and the higher ed. I'm more in the sort of like ecosystem community space, if you will.
Yeah.
And, Brandon is sort of in the artist management A&R side. He has a little more exposure to the hip hop world than a couple of us do. And together it's just a great team. And I think we've been together now as a committee for 3 years. So at this point, we're just sort of constantly scouring the internet, other places to see who we'd want to have.
Right.
The host committee is really a group of supporters. And they come together every once in a while to sort of offer advice and connections. And we ask them to be advocates for Confluence and spread the word in their networks. And many of them are sponsors as well. So that's really their role, is to sort of almost like an advisory committee, if you will.
Got you. Is there, so the program communities, they're reaching out to these folks individually? Is there a way for artists who are around the country or in the region, or people who are involved in the music business in some way to reach out to Confluence to maybe come and speak or perform? Is that a thing?
Yes, yeah, definitely. And let me talk about the performance side.
Sure.
But we have a couple of ways to contact us right through the website, and we get a lot. That's where we get most of our sort of incoming, if you will.
Yeah.
Different ways people reach out interested in speaking, sponsoring, just wanting to know more. And then people DM us on Instagram all the time. Really, those are the two best ways. So the performance side. So what we really want to do, what we've focused on the first 3 years, every artist who's played our stages is a Carolinas-based artist.
Okay.
So we want to highlight the Carolinas music scene. And we have like evolved in a way, I would say, from 2023 to 2025 as to sort of how we do that. We do have an application process to play a showcase.
Okay.
Every artist is paid. These are all paid gigs. And we open that up to anyone from North or South Carolina or based in North or South Carolina.
Gotcha.
We run that in the spring. And then we also curate other acts as well, because we're trying to put together a lineup of bands and artists that we and others think are sort of on the rise, So the hope is that when you come to Confluence, you're discovering your next favorite artist, or, these artists, 3 years later, they're playing big stages and you're like, oh man, I saw them back at Confluence. And we're also trying to showcase this to the national industry. We're trying to show folks. I remember last year, I'll just tell a quick story. I think sums up how and why we do it.
Sure.
So a local Charlotte band, called Oceanic was played a set at Snug Harbor, and they absolutely killed. They are a fantastic Charlotte-based band.
I haven't heard of them.
They're touring right now, opening for a band called the Hales. They've done some other smaller tours of their own, kind of a indie pop alt sound. Let's see, I don't hesitate to compare them to other artists, but maybe a little bit of a Coldplay sound, as well as some others, but just a really cool sound, great stage presence, great performance. Anyway, so two different people came to me after that set and said, one person was, they're like embedded in the music industry, and said, that band's from Charlotte? And I was like, yeah. They're like, okay, I see you, Charlotte. And they each said individually, without knowing the other had said it, I go to a ton of shows. That was the best live set I've seen in 2 years.
Wow.
And so that band just got incredible exposure within the industry. Charlotte just got incredible exposure. And then multiply that by all the other performances that we're hosting through Confluence. And I think it begins to tell a different story about Charlotte and the North Carolina scene that might exist in the minds of the other industry, but also even hopefully locals. So by this year, I think maybe about a third or maybe less of the artists are showcase artists through the application process. And the rest we curate on top just from around the Carolinas, trying to get a diversity of genres and sounds, but also, again, artists or bands that we hope that their careers on a growth curve.
Are you doing any particular events, or I should say evenings? Like, if you go here, it's going to be a jazz evening. If you go here, we're going to have classical that evening, or rock, or is it mostly geared towards the rock pop kind of genre?
Yeah. Yes.
Country.
Yeah. No. Good question. Yes and no. So we kind of have both. We have some showcase. So we have a hip hop R&B showcase, which is highly curated with some showcases as well. We have, I would say, Thursday. It's been different each year, but we typically will have, one night where, so in a typical night at a venue. So let me just say how we did it this year. 2 nights of music, 6 venues, about 25 bands. So that's 4 to 5 bands per venue, mostly playing 30-minute sets.
Okay.
And then a headliner maybe playing for an hour. And then Thursday night in Noda, Friday night in Pleasant Midwood, all the venues within a block of each other.
Okay.
So your pass gets you in and out access to all the venues. You can walk around, hop back and forth, check out a band maybe for 10 minutes. You're like, not my thing. That's cool. Walk a block down the street to the next venue,
right,
and go see the next band. We stagger it as much as we can so you can try to see as many of the bands. It's impossible to do across the board. So we try to mix the genres a little bit to give people more experiences. I was talking to Perry Fowler, who runs Petra's in Pleasant Midwood, and we were really focused the first 2 years on we got to have all indie folk bands here and all indie pop bands over here. And he's like, Rick, man, this thing you're doing, people just love music. It doesn't all, like, they love all kinds of music. Don't get too hung up on it has to be all the same genre in one spot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I think you're onto something there. So we had, Petra's was one this year where probably 3 different genres over the course of the night, playing there. We had a jazz jam for the first time. Well, we had jazz the first year as a late night set, but, we partnered up with, Braxton Bateman, incredible trumpet player in Charlotte. He hosts something called Mo Better Thursdays on Thursday nights in Noda, which is just an unbelievable jazz jam.
Where's that at?
So it's moved a couple times. It's currently at Bose on Noda. Bose, like B-O''S.
I don't even know that place.
Yeah, it's up near like Divine Barrel and some of those places, like a little just north of like the center of Noda, if you will. And we threw him a little extra budget so he could bring in some of the top players in the city to make that just a really cool organic experience.
Cool.
So that added a jazz component. We also added last year a songwriter round on Saturday afternoon. So the Evening Muse on Saturday afternoon, I curated 8 regional singer-songwriters kind of trading songs and stories for about 3 hours.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, so we're trying to really highlight original songwriting as well with that and kind of bring together the songwriting community. We've done a hard rock showcase before at Starlight, and I was very proud. The cops were called twice because it was so loud. That was pretty awesome.
That's definitely rock and roll.
Yeah. So, as we look to expand over time, that's the one thing I would love to do is get to a place where we're in more venues and showcasing even more kinds of music.
Sure.
Over even more nights.
That begs the question for me. With the venues that you're at, so you've got places like the Evening Muse, you've got Snug Harbor, Neighborhood Theater. Is everyone involved, or is it only certain places? I'm sure not everybody wants to sign on to everything. So does Confluence reach out to them and say, hey, we're doing the event this year. Would you guys like to be on board and host this event?
Yeah, and we've worked with all these venues since 2023.
Okay.
We've actually streamlined it some from the first year because we learned a lot, to be honest with you.
Sure.
After the first year and the second year. And so what we really worked to achieve this year was to make sure that each night everything was walkable. We finally learned after 2 years that people are just not going to get in a car or Uber and kind of go from place to place. That most people, once they're in a venue, they're going to stay there, but they will walk across the street.
Right.
So as a result, we condensed the footprint a little bit each night just to keep it super close to each other. And so that's why we're using the venues that we have now.
Okay.
So 3 each night, all walkable. But yeah, they are incredible partners. They're all partners in the mission of helping Charlotte develop into a music city. So, I don't pretend to know their books, but I'm guessing they could probably do better with a touring band in October than they're doing with us. And so we appreciate their partnership to allow us to host Confluence at their venues.
That's pretty cool. What is the thought process about having Confluence in October? Is there why isn't it in the summer? Is it because of tourists? North Carolina is a kind of tourist state, going to the beaches, going to the mountains. Is there a certain time of the year this could all happen? Why is it in October?
Yeah, I don't have a great answer for that, honestly.
Okay.
We've definitely thought about, is it the right month? Should we look at other months? Certainly the first one pre-COVID was in August. It's funny. On the one hand, August is a slower time for venues, more accessible, but there's a reason, right? It's slower. It's because people just don't go out of their house in August.
Right. It's hot.
They don't want to leave. They don't want to, or they're on vacation.
Yeah.
So every month we looked at, there were good things and bad things about it. So we finally just kind of landed on the date that kind of worked the best for other schedules, our production team schedule, when we thought we could get folks in from out of town,
right.
Traveling, and decided that Charlotte has also become a big enough city that it's always busy. You just kind of have to pick your dates and own it.
Sure. Well, it seems like that actually is a pretty good time just because things have started to cool off. It's not so super hot. kids are back at school, so parents at that point kind of getting into October, if they're into the music scene and they want to go to some of the stuff, they've already got their schedule started to get set after the first month of school with kids going back, and it's not as crazy at that point.
Yeah, and we were trying to look at other things happening around the state as well. And so there's Hopscotch in Raleigh in September. AVL Fest has been in Asheville in August, although they took this year off, still recovering from Helene. So we're trying to kind of pace ourselves with those as well.
Yeah.
Our mission, our vision, I should say, is that Confluence is where Carolina's music gathers. So really we want Confluence to be that annual thing that if you're a music pro in North or South Carolina, you come to this every year because you're going to see everybody. You're going to see all the people you work with and collaborate with. And then we create that critical mass like that, and then invite national industry in to really get a pulse on what's happening and begin to build those connections.
Sure.
So we're trying to kind of thread the needle on when's a good time that we could do this where there's not something else big happening around the state that would pull people away.
All right. Here's the next big question.
Okay.
Why does it happen during the week and not on the weekends? Like me being, I have a career during the day that it's hard to get away for 3 days. I would love to attend all the panels and go to everything, but that's kind of tough for me.
Yeah.
And I know there's plenty of musicians out there who are like myself, who are in the scene, but they also have day jobs to make ends meet.
Most musicians, yeah.
So what is there a reason that we started doing it during the week instead of adding some weekend dates on there for more people to be able to get out to see it?
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest question we had wrestled with.
Okay.
And I think the preface to my answer is I really want to find a way to add some programming on the weekend for that audience. And we just haven't had the bandwidth to pull it off yet. But where we kind of landed on it was we really wanted to bring in top quality speakers from the industry, and most of them are not going to come in on the weekend because for them it's their job, it's their day job. So they'll go to conferences during the week, but they're not going to travel, or fewer of them will travel on the weekend unless you're paying them a big guarantee, which we don't have the ability to do. And likewise, we really want to attract music pros as well, people that work in the music industry in the region to come. And kind of similarly, they're much more willing to come in on a weekday, right? Because it's sort of it's their day job, if you will. And so our hope through the first 3 years was that if we can make it compelling enough and have enough advance notice that maybe the artist that has a day job can find a way to still take a day or two off. I know it's asking a lot, especially if someone's an hourly worker, to still attend. We've tried to make it easy to buy a 1 day pass that's cheap. So that if you could just come for 1 day or carve out time, this year. So the first year we did it, we were Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And we got that feedback. We're like, well, heck, let's get it closer to the weekend so that maybe if folks can take a Friday off, they could come in. And then we pushed the programming this year to mostly in the afternoon. So there's only some targeted stuff happening in the morning. So the panels and all those are happening after lunch. So try to at least compartmentalize it in a way that hopefully makes it a little bit easier for someone who has a day job to take the time away. But I think we do recognize that's something we're still trying to figure out a little bit. Right. We've had some people suggest, could you add some panels in the evening that would be great, for working musicians. Then sometimes we hear, well, we're gigging in the evenings so we have to figure that out still. For me, I always want it to grow. It's just my nature. How can we make it bigger, more appealing? And I think that's a real opportunity for growth, is adding some content on the weekends so that we can help attract an audience that just can't get there during the week.
And I guess that's also a double-edged sword for us working musicians who play, because if you do it on the weekends, well, we might have gigs booked, and there's no, you might not be able to make it.
And we heard that too, right?
So,
we've done surveys and it kind of landed half and half.
Yeah.
So it was we haven't had any clear data telling us to go one way or the other, other than industry saying, no, we really need it to be on the weekday for us to participate.
Yeah.
So that's where we started. That's where we started from.
Yeah.
But then now you look at how can you build from where you are.
Yeah. Maybe you could get, just a thought. Maybe you guys could get some community support for doing it on like a Saturday and then just make it an all day. The last day is just Charlotte folks. I mean, you could have people from out of town, of course, but I mean, maybe you do a couple of panels with local Charlotte people, guys from Confluence come on and answer questions, or other local musicians. And then maybe there's a day at some particular venue like Evening Muse where it's just local Charlotte musicians for that day going in. I don't know, just a thought. I
like that idea. And I think that's actually something we should look at.
Yeah.
I think it's a cool idea.
Now, out of curiosity, the different venues with different shows.
Yeah.
You were talking about buying passes. Could I go to the Evening Muse and just see a certain show there for the night?
Yeah.
Can I buy individual tickets?
Yeah. We yes is the answer to your question. Each venue is selling individual tickets or sells individual tickets to their shows.
Great.
And they're, priced differently depending on the lineup at that show, but they're anywhere from 10 to 20. I think the most expensive was Neighborhood, which is like a $25 ticket all in. Mm-hmm. They had the biggest draw, a band called Ashes and Arrows.
Yes.
Out of Asheville. You can also buy, and this is the part that I'm like, I really want people to understand because I think it's the coolest thing. Mm-hmm. We sell just a music only pass. So it's just the music, but it's all access. So it gets you into all the shows Thursday and Friday night, as well as the songwriter round on Saturday. And you can come and go. It's just a wristband.
Do you know where the songwriter round's taking place?
Evening Muse.
Evening Muse? Okay, great.
Yeah. And that's, the early bird price for that was like $30. So not about the same as you might pay for like one show or like 2 martinis.
Yeah.
And you get access to 6 venues and like 25 bands.
Yeah.
And so that's the piece that I really wish this market would understand, because I think it's such a cool experience, and everyone who does it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. But it's so new to the Charlotte area that not everyone fully grasps the idea or plans in advance. And you probably have heard that Charlotte has a reputation as being a last minute ticket buying market. And so yes. I think that something like that Music Pass it's 2 nights. And so, and an afternoon. So it's a little harder for people to wait to the last minute to then commit to that, which is why we ended up, doing the single tickets available as well.
Does it work that way for panels as well? If you want to go to just a certain panel you saw and buy just a ticket for the panel?
You can't just buy a ticket to the panel. We'd have no way to manage that logistically. You can buy all access pass, which is the best deal. And you get to go to all the stuff, all the panels, all the networking events, and get invited to the kickoff party and all the shows.
Okay.
And then we have a kickoff party the first night, which is that we invite all access pass holders to, and sponsors and all that. It's at Amos's. This year we had Time Sawyer and Joe May play at that. And then we can sell, folks can buy just a conference pass, because there are a lot of people that just, for whatever reason, they don't want to go out to the music.
Yeah.
And so they just want to go to the conference, and they just want to go to the daytime stuff. And then we also offer 1-day passes, and that's the best bet for someone who's like, I really just want to come to see this speaker or these 2 panels. And that's sort of a 1-day conference only pass to get you in the door there. And we sell a fair number of those, because a lot of times people don't hear about it until the last minute.
Sure.
So they show up on a Friday, the last day, and like, oh, I just heard about it. And so we make it available for them as well.
So you've got the performances happening at places like Evening Muse and Amos's. Where would the conferences be taking place, or where did they take place?
Yeah. So this year at a venue called the Union at Station West, which it's a really cool spot.
Uptown?
It is not uptown. It's about 2 miles west of uptown. It's sort of in that area, if folks know, where like Pizza Baby and Noble Smoke, and there's a couple of breweries over there. It's like kind of to the west. I think the neighborhood's called like Fremore West or something.
Okay.
It's a really kind of like up and coming hip area. And this venue it used to be an old beer bottling facility. So it's all brick, like super cool industrial vibe. And the owners bought it and converted it into kind of retail and venue space.
Gotcha.
So we had this amazing room that with all the AV, one of those contemporary churches with the rock music and the AV and all that and the streaming, they use it. So all the AV was set up, which is amazing. A great coffee shop on site called Platform Coffee, a great bakery called the Batchmaker Bakery, all right there in this spot in this amazing little courtyard with this view of uptown. It's a really cool vibe. And it also allowed us to stay together more than our previous venue, which was a little spread out. So it just made for a great daytime spot for all the things. And then we had the music at night in sort of different neighborhoods.
How many panels were happening each day? Was there a series of panels?
Yeah. Gosh, I should know the number. Kind of, my mind gets murky on it, but I would guess there's probably like 24 or 25
a day.
Total.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So probably that may be high.
So it's like almost like if I remember back to the original Confluence that I went to, it was like this one's happening at this time, and then there's this one's happening at this time.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
so
maybe
like,
even two at the same time at different locations.
We tried to avoid that this year.
Okay.
But essentially, about once an hour over the course of about 6 hours.
Okay.
We had a panel or a fireside chat.
Yeah.
We also offer workshops, which do happen at the same time as a panel, but it's a small additional fee, but it's limited in number and it's super interactive.
Okay.
And they're really popular actually, on like kind of a focused topic, and there's lots of back and forth and Q&A and things like that. So we also offered those. And then we also added some roundtables where we had one for the live industry.
Gotcha.
One for sort of music tech startups, and it's really about just getting together with your peers, and talking about different issues that you can all relate to, and really and with people that maybe you hadn't met before.
Sure.
So it's like pseudo networking, pseudo like deep dive on topics related to you, and finally, this year we added one-on-one mentoring sessions. So people that have a ticket to Confluence can sign up in advance and say like, hey, if they were like, oh man, this guy Matthew, he's an incredible speaker, I want to meet him. You sign up for a 15-minute meeting with that person. And so most of our speakers made themselves available for this.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And so it gets scheduled, and you get to sit down with this person for 15 minutes and talk about whatever you want.
Pick their brain.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that idea, man. Is there anything about Confluence that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about?
The other thing we worked hard to add this year, I would say, are like interactive community elements. So we brought in an artist who were actually 8 different artists who made these small pieces of art that were music themed, and we hid them around the conference, and whoever found it could keep it. We had a custom partner with another artist on a custom limited edition shirt, which our VIP pass holders got in their bag. But then we also sold that, but it's like, once they're gone,
right?
Kind of thing. We had a DJ on stage this year, so we wanted to really just create a vibe through the whole thing and have like walk up music for some of the panels, and just really just keep the energy high, and also let people know where you are. That's it. That we really feel strongly that we want people to know who come to this, like, I'm in Charlotte, and leaving with a sense of like knowing what Charlotte's about.
Yeah.
Because so many of these things that happen around the country are in like hotel conference rooms.
Right.
And there's nothing against them. I've been to a lot of them, but you almost forget what city you're in.
Sure.
Because it's just everything's kind of standardized. And so we worked really hard that like have it in unique spaces, get you into our venues, interact with Carolinas-based talent, so that when you leave, you feel like you know this place a little bit better, or you feel better connected to this place than you were before.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome. I hope it's been a very successful Confluence this year. I'm going to try to make it next year, I think.
Maybe we'll have that Saturday programming you're asking about. Maybe that'll be the thing that gets you out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not so much that I don't want to go.
I hear you.
I would love to check out some of the panels, but I'm a teacher during the day.
Yeah.
And, taking the time off for it is a little difficult. I know, one of the festivals you mentioned earlier, though, we have to give a shout out to the Shout Festival because, being a music teacher for Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, they allocated I think it started last year, a day for Charlotte Mecklenburg kids to come out and do performances, which was just fantastic.
And we're expanding that this year.
Are you
so
really?
for Shout 2026, we've already had a couple of meetings. We'll be adding more of that. We're expanding and growing because that's been such a great partnership with CMS. I'm partial to it. My daughter's in 9th grade at CMS in the school orchestra. So, I keep lobbying for more orchestra slots for that. But actually one thing we didn't talk about at Confluence is, so one of our best partners is the North Carolina Music Office, which was started by Governor Cooper.
Wow.
And so we're one of the few states in the country that has a state music office, and they have supported us and partnered with us, and they encouraged me to look at how do we involve education in Confluence. And so this year we tested something. I think we ended up with just a panel and some roundtables, but bringing in music educators from high school and higher ed as well as industry to talk about how can we create pathways for music students to work in the industry. Because so I worked with the North Carolina Music Educators Association. That's a mouthful. And what they said is a lot of we're so focused on the teaching of music.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of discussion around the music students who maybe aren't going to go on to become professional musicians, but they still want to work in music. And we don't really know how to help them get there.
Yeah.
And so we had this incredible opportunity with all these industry people in town. Let's bring them together and start talking about hey, I'm in the industry. Here's how I can help support you to expose your students to the different facets of the industry. And here's how we can begin thinking about curriculum that goes from high school to college to the industry.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so that is something we tested this year on Friday at Confluence to see if we want to grow that a little bit.
Right.
And we focused not as much on the teachers this year because it's hard to get away, but more on the administrators who can carve out some time in their day, or higher ed. We actually happened to fall on the UNC system fall break this year. Mm-hmm. So in some ways that made it easier for higher ed folks to come in and be a part of this as well. So trying to, because music education obviously is the future. Yeah. It's the future. The students of taking your classes are the future of the industry. They're future consumers. They're future players. So wanting to get intentional about creating those opportunities as well.
That's awesome. I like hearing that kind of stuff, particularly being a teacher,
that's cool.
And a music teacher at that, getting the kids involved. That's always awesome. Rick, is there any way we can get in touch, or can you fill us in on all the different ways to get in touch with the folks at Confluence, and if we have questions, or where can you steer us to?
Yeah, the easiest way is the website. It's confluencecarolinas.com. There's a contact us form on there. It comes straight to me, actually. Mm-hmm. So I'll see it. And so that's the best way to get in touch. You can also follow on Instagram. Yeah. At either at Music Everywhere CLT or at Confluence Carolinas.
Gotcha.
Those are the most active channels we have. And on the website, on the Confluence website, or musiceverywhereclt.com, we have newsletters as well. So they're not crazy spammy. The Music Everywhere newsletter is really targeted to the music community. Mm-hmm. So really highlighting opportunities for people that play or work in music in Charlotte. That goes out every 2 weeks, and the Confluence one just depends on where we are in the year. But I would recommend those newsletters as for people in the music community.
Okay. I'll put those links up there.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Our show notes. Rick, it's been a pleasure having you on and talking about all things Confluence.
I love talking about it. Thanks for being so curious about it.
All right, man. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye. Thanks for listening to episode 92 of the Queen City Music Podcast, and I hope you'll go back and check out past episodes. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your friends. As always, if you have an idea for an episode or would like to be a guest on the QCMP, reach out to me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Also, check out our local partners, Records on the Wall at rexonthewall.com, Charlotte New Music at charlottenewmusic.org, Blacker the Berry Lemonade at btblemonade.com, and our newest local partner, the Evening Muse at eveningmuse.com. And if you would like to become a local partner, touch base with me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Until next month, get out there and support the local Charlotte music scene by hearing some of the talented artists who call our city home.